back in session, now that we're all have our eyes on.
Sorry about that.
Well, you're not excused, but go
It's a me, president. Make sure you don't hit me with the gavel.
ahead. Okay, are there
Make
any
a motion,
additional
we accept
questions?
them
There you
as
go.
made, or in our book.
Do I hear a second? Moved in second, we accept the minutes as presented. All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, Mary, we're on.
Good morning. First report is our monthly investment report. We did have our 6 months CD renewed with Westar at 0.50%.
Point five.
The 3.1 million? Is that the one?
Yes.
That's for only 6 months, okay.
That's only 6 months, correct.
That's a little better.
Our next is our balance sheet report. If there's any questions. I do have a breakdown, Mr. Ivy. Do you need any clarification on the amount on our accounts receivable? It's a little high this month. We're at $411,000.
Okay.
Back on your balance sheet, so we're talking.
Yes, page 1.
Okay. Okay, 411,000, okay. No, I didn't see anything on your balance sheet. It's okay.
Our revenue report is also reflected on our budget proposal. So we can either still review that or wait until we get to the budget.
I don't understand.
Our monthly,
Connection.
our August revenues, expenses, and income coming in is also reflected on the proposed budget report.
Okay, so it's on the
For our
report.
actuals,
Okay, I
correct.
got you. So you can go to the budget if you want to do it yourself.
Yes.
Does anybody have any questions of you while we're there?
No, not really. I mean, I can do that in the budget.
Check report?
We do have our $500 check report.
You don't need $500 check. Yeah, there is, there's one, I don't know, it's almost there.
9.2, Chewy, is that the Sun Valley distress sale we made down there?
Yes.
Ah, that's pretty good.
So we were able to get $45,000 worth of inventory, all kinds of bolts and nuts and shelves and all kinds of stuff. And we started off, they wanted 20,000 at first, and Pete and I got them down to 13,750.
Good job.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
So that should set us up for the next several years with nuts and bolts and of all kinds that we utilize all the time. Of course, and there was a couple of things that we might not utilize, like curtain rod hangers and stuff like that. But
A couple of mechanics, the ladder, right?
Right.
but the majority, I would say, 98% was things that we will utilize, that we sooner or later, little pins and so on, and that the mechanics use.
Given the inflation we're undergoing, that's probably a whole lot more valuable than it appears here.
Yeah.
It looks very good here.
No,
And we got all kinds of questions. Larry called me and he said, hey, are we buying the hardware store?
Yeah, well, everybody was calling me, see, the district looks very good. When did you guys purchase that building?
Well, I asked him, found out what was going on, and I said, are you sure you don't want to sell that to Rio Bravo? I mean, you're right, you're set up, you had all the washers and that stuff. Both, and the bins that went with it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so we,
That's the old Ryan
That's-
deal.
yeah, there in the back, it was tremendous deal.
Where are you?
Morning, Johnny. Everybody.
Jim Ryan was my first boss.
Was he?
When I was in high
I'll
school.
be done. Wasn't great, yeah.
No, but it was Red Born County.
Oh, yeah.
You done?
Yeah,
Hey, any other
we're done.
questions? We're on the $500 check report.
All righty.
Just for my clarification, line 75, in Plug International, it's the Ted Houghton, that's our, isn't it, Ted? And our liabilities and all. Line 7, that's Ted Houghton's company or?
That was bought by, Hubban International. Corp.
Yeah.
That's no, that's
No.
DeMarco.
Oh, that's the DeMarco.
Did you?
Is Ted, is Ted Houghton still?
that's the, Ted's got the 457.
Retirement.
Retirement.
Retirement part.
Yeah.
Okay, this is the DeMarco.
Yeah, this is, oh, D Margo's group.
What's number 84 about? 84, Texas Irrigation Council.
We're members, we have been members, Larry, of the Texas Irrigation Council, so that's our usual, annual fees that we have to pay to continue being members. And I was the president for about 4 years, and I'm still a member, but we get a lot of perks from it. There's a law firm that is attached to the Texas Irrigation Council, and there's also a lobbying firm that we've utilized in the past.
Political hay out of it.
They have very good connections with the shoulders.
The reason they charge us that much is because Chu was the president.
Item number 80, is that for personnel issues?
Yes.
Okay, and then, just for my clar, line 36 on the Kenworth, says replace ARD hit. What is an ARD hit? Is that a misprint? Pete, what's an ARD hit? Is that a special something or other?
No, actually, this T9, we ran into some problems with it. So it had to go in for loss of oil pressure.
Ouch.
Oh,
So that's all part of the, I guess, of the diagnose to try to get that up.
so you had to replace a head?
Yes.
That just, is that word ARD, does that mean anything? I'm just curious.
I don't know exactly what it
Yes,
means.
it
That
was
doesn't
part
mean
of the
something?
invoice, yes.
Yeah.
It
was
said
a description.
ARD.
Yes.
Any mechanics around here
We
tell me
can-
what an ARD is?
Maybe we
No?
can look it up.
It's a
I
hard
know what a
head.
hard head is. I know what an ARD is, okay.
So item number 31, can I assume that all the trucks that we have are GPS monitored? Part of the monitoring system for our trucks?
Not 100%. We've got 66 of them. We picked out the ones that we thought were most important. Trucks and equipment also.
It's the burner system.
And so we,
Has that been helping out, Joey?
yes, it really, we watch it, we make it mandatory that our supervisors look at it on a daily basis. That way we know, it tells you everything. Someone speeding, what the speed was, for how long, and in what areas, and so on. And it also helps with monitoring our equipment and our trucks as to where they're located, and if they're sitting idling for a long time, why were they idling, and why aren't they moving, and so it helps us tremendously.
Sounds like a pretty good managing tool as a preventative type. So we can, and it's not just the obvious tracking, but also if it's a lot more efficient to go road from point A to point B versus this way, that's like a managing tool that we can, you know.
It helps the mechanic know when they're due for service.
Okay.
And he doesn't have to wait for them to tell him. He sees it every day when they're coming up for service. He gets the parts and get ready for the truck to come in. It warns him that the truck's ready to do for service.
And as a consequence, our equipment will last longer
Yes.
for that.
Hey, Art, I got these trucks confused. This one here is one that's the particulate filter. And that's part,
Okay.
that's part of the thing that burns to clean the soup and the DPF.
Yeah.
So that's what that DPF head is.
It says ARD.
I mean ARD, it's an after repair.
After repair.
Yeah, that's what I just spoke to.
Device.
Device.
After repair device.
No,
No, I don't know.
This is burner system.
It's after repair, Dan.
Burner.
It's a burner
It's a
system.
burner.
It's a burner. Burner system is what it says.
Yes.
But the fact that they put in front of the word head, we all know what a head is on a motorcycle. I'm just, whatever, okay.
It's pretty good. So number 54, is that our portion for campaign and all the publicity that comes out of the airwaves?
It already was on the airways.
Okay.
Yes, and we've been members of that illegal dumping campaign for the last 5 years.
Or more now.
Any more questions of the $500 check report? All right. August credit card report is next. All right, no question? Don't even look at the next one. The legal and consulting fee schedule.
Should have left my glasses up.
Yeah.
Any questions or any of that? Anybody?
What, the accounting software, is that pretty much, you don't have to pay for it anymore? You have a line item of 0. What would normally be there? What would be the purpose of having it?
I know we've had it since we've implemented or switched over to Sage, but we just leave it there and
Just in case.
just in case.
So we get Al working on the computer.
Yes, and he does as well.
Anything else? No, let's go to the budget. I think everybody has a handout.
Yes, I've provided an updated handout. The only change to this proposed budget is having the rates reflect the current year rates, which is $25 for land assessment and $10 for water delivery.
I think that was the only change we made.
Which is-
Yes, that was the only change. We met with the executive committee with Mr. Stubbs and Mr. Ivy and Mr. Reyes and myself and Al. Went over the proposed budget, and that was the only changes were requested is to leave the rates as is. And if you have any questions in regard to the proposed budget.
The important thing is we didn't raise taxes or anything,
No, we
right?
didn't. We didn't.
For the record, just make sure that that's.
Yeah, actually, since with the inflation, the dollar amount's the same, but the dollar value's got down.
Yeah, actually this.
So less buying power than we had before, so it's definitely.
unless you think it's transitory.
That's already done. The inflation, we were shifted.
Yeah, it's all over.
We're into a new dollar valuation.
Does anybody have any questions of the budget over there? Now, Art and I both reviewed it, but that was the only change we had. If y'all, if you have any concerns or questions, now is the time to bring them up.
Where do we have the cost of insurance? Insurances such as our annual insurance for,
We have
37.
that on our expense account page.
so how does that compare? Is there somewhere, I haven't looked at that close, but are we maintaining, or is that continuing to increment higher every year? Are we managing that pretty well?
Our health insurance rate, we were able to.
You're talking medical,
Yeah, the medical.
the whole package?
The whole package. I know you guys have been very creative and have been very helpful on maintaining over the years. We've had this insurance company now for, I think, 10 years now, right?
The Blue Cross Blue Shield, yes.
Yeah.
And which Hub International now?
Handles it.
Yes,
And because previous was a Wells Fargo.
yes.
And we weren't happy with them, so up to this point, are we happy with Hub? And are we tracking the cost to where it's an acceptable amount, I guess?
Yes, yeah, we've been very happy with them. We've umbrellaed everything now because, just to keep it all together. They've worked really well with Mary and I every year. They go out to market when we need to, and of course, at the end of the day, it's what's best for the district and the employee.
Just a specific question, what's the percentage, did it go up this year? Or did it go up this year?
14.9,
14.9%? Is that,
which started at a higher percentage,
okay. So
and
we've
they brought it down because we've been with them for so long.
Okay. Very good. Good job.
And the part you're talking about on the health, is that shown in the payroll expense where it says payroll related?
No, it'll be on the middle.
61401. Page 5.
Oh, employment, okay, there's the group medical. Okay. So, actually, let's see, projected 810 is going up from 810 to 885,
No, it's going up from 810 to 934.
934, yeah. Yeah, 61.
It's going to the budget
Is this
amount.
always the one that always keeps?
Yeah, last year we over budgeted, but
Mhm.
This was budget actually, we're not gonna get to there, but here's.
we had
Yeah,
anticipated
okay, I
going
see.
up more
So
this
the
year.
actual-
I mean, like
we beat
anything
the
else.
budget
it's good.
last year, here's the new budget.
Gotcha. Good job. That's always a full-time job, I know it. I'm glad we have people, a full team, and somebody that cares about the bottom dollar as far as our insurance company. Good job, Lisa, Mary.
Also included in the budget is the capital equipment purchases. We reviewed that, and we're all right with all that. We need all this equipment to be able to do all the construction that we're planning on doing, so. I didn't have any problem with it. There's no claim for Al in there.
yeah.
There was a crane.
We already got a crew.
Just a 1 ton though.
Oh, that's a boom truck, right, Pete? We don't need to call those
We
cranes.
call
do
it
we?
a
Doesn't
crane.
qualify
It
crane
says
yet?
crane now.
Well, it's sort of like a
Those are those-
utility lift.
Yeah, like when they change out of
No appreciation,
a
you're
big
not happy.
tractor tire.
What's a little better than the one I gave him 10 years back or whatever. that
That's the
was.
same rating.
Did it have talk on the side of it?
Yeah.
It had
The one
John
he
Deere.
did had talk on the back of it.
I know this year was very different, but like on the ditch rider part, I don't know if we need the 4-wheel drives out there or not. Because I had to give so many rides to so many ditch riders this year.
That's a robbery.
I took them back and forth, I don't know how I,
I think we need a driving school. Stay on the canal.
No, we couldn't, they couldn't get in at all.
Well, there,
And what I
it
did with
used to
George
be,
and Tony.
you would walk out there, when I was out there, we need, have the truck, but
Yeah,
same,
there was this year was different.
same one with the Singer ditch riders.
Oh, man. it
They
was-
forget to take it out of
Four-wheel drive.
and you get on the highway and they'll go 100 miles an hour and they'll,
To mess it up,
yeah.
And we've tried it and,
It doesn't work?
well, it's more expensive in fuel and all that, so, and
That's another $5,000 on the truck. With a four-wheel drive.
Art and I remember when we used to actually ride a horse, right?
I can remember when we walked.
Or maybe some vehicle or something, because I had to really, a matter of fact, I told Ditch Rider, there's a tractor here, four-wheel drive, use it.
And, you know, I understand what you're saying, but when it rains like that, we spend more time trying to get them out of that canal because they get stuck.
Yeah. The pickup that gets more stuck is a four-wheel drive all the time.
And then you get
They
forward.
can't get in and they can't.
Yeah.
I was thinking, I even thought of something like having like a gator or something,
Quad.
a quad. I mean, I know this year was different.
Yeah.
It was very different because, I mean, I use tractor to irrigate all the time. Not even a four-wheel drive truck could get in some areas this year.
You know, really, the only things the quad get you, and then they'll slide
Yeah,
off
quad.
the canal.
That's the whole thing.
There's probably not a real answer.
Yeah, well, I
Live
had
with
men
what you
that
got.
stuck quads, and I had them stick four-wheel drive.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that four-wheel drive doesn't guarantee they're going,
right.
and a lot of times all they do is tear it up, you're right, so.
Gotta say, I think maybe you need a driving school for them.
Yeah.
Whether, they know whether to go in or not.
Yeah, but there's sometimes, Johnny,
Horses.
where you have to get, I mean, I was
Robert,
I was
more
helping
horses.
them out, but, and every farmer.
Yeah, we never had a problem with a horse.
Corrals.
Overhauls.
We got enough room to build some corrals right over here.
Is that part of the capital investment, some mules or?
Horses, corrals, and talked to Rogers about, hey,
And then probably it ain't gonna rain for the next 5 years. like
Yeah,
this
Rosh,
year.
yeah.
But,
Well,
On the capital improvements, just want to make a note of this, and maybe Al can clarify this a little better for me. This is coming out of our general fund, and in fact, it's for a lot of grant work, and that piece of equipment, if I understand this, is billed to a respective grant or a respective project.
Yeah, so you're on page,
I'm just looking at the Schedule A of all the equipment that we were identified to purchase. But the thing that I'm trying to make is, it's just not just for maintenance or maintaining the water delivery, but it's actually, many of your this is a question for you, Al. All the grants, the work that's happening, it needs equipment. And I'm assuming that it costs, when you estimate it, there's, in other words, that equipment is making actually a return? Would that be an accurate?
there's a we consider a capital recovery.
Capital recovery, so it's not
So
really.
there's operational expense, and then you get a small thing to pay for the equipment as part
Right,
of it.
because it's the usage and whatever, so.
We
I don't wanna
charge,
call it profit, but it's kinda,
No, it's not profit,
Off of-
it's for the cost of the capital.
right, off of all our grants, we charge off all the equipment that we utilize, whether it be a truck or, you know, one of our backhoes or whatever. Pete's very good of documenting everything that we utilize, and then it goes to Mary and Omar. But we charge it off to the
to the
grant,
profit.
whether it's our matching, we use it as our matching
Right,
for the grant.
Yeah, we call it a force account, so we, and sometimes we actually recover those, actually get paid for it, but most of, it depends on the ratio of the grant.
right, in the grand scheme of things, let's say $1.5 million of capital expenditures. Of that, a percentage would be paid back. I mean, we don't feel it because it's a check.
It's a complicated calculation, because, you know, everything, we have amortization schedules and we have all sorts of stuff, but I'd say the capital, I don't know, it's hard to say, Pete, but, you know, the big equipment, we make quite a bit, we're able to charge. I mean, part of it's just what Mr. Reyes says, it's really just an offset. We're not getting any money, we're getting our share of the grant for it. Occasionally, like when we do work for the city and other entities like that, we actually bill for it, but we're billing at the governmental, it's either the FEMA rate, the Corps of Engineer rate, and Omar's, we're using internally the RS Means rates. And the RS Means you're probably familiar with that service. It's kept most up to date and localized, so it's most accurate, but sometimes the government won't accept it. So on the grants, Water Development Board will accept RS means, but I think Reclamation's FEMA, I don't remember.
It's Corps of Engineers.
Corps of Engineers. We like FEMA, didn't we? That was our favorite one. It had the highest returns of capital recovery, so. But we get, diesel's our biggest item right now that we're trying to track by far.
I guess in a crazy way of thinking, I'm thinking, we get our money back, but we're not really getting our money back. In other words, we're spending $1.5 million, but in the grand scheme of things, we're not really losing $1.5 million or whatever that.
Well, it's, you've already paid for the capital, so we don't have a sinking fund, which we could, so you could take those capital recovery rates that we charge out. There's not that many of them, we actually get money back for it. You can put it in a sinking fund, we've never done that.
That's kind of what I was thinking from the equipment expenditures.
But anyways, it's not, I don't think it's that much really, that we actually, so mainly we're using it to pay our 50% share of the grant, our matching share. Most grants have 50-50, some have different numbers, Omar knows those numbers. You know, we're trying to get higher numbers, so we've almost always only done 50-50s. I don't know, we have, Omar, do you know what?
There's one that just came available that's 25.
We're 75. 75.
So it'd be 25 on our part and 75 for the US.
Well, at any rate, if you look at this little sheet here on our 7-year plan or whatever.
Yeah, we're in the 7th year of our 5-year plan.
A 5-year, 7th year or 5-year plan, it goes all the way out to 14, and we have made tremendous progress, and you can't do it without machine.
Yeah, items 7 and 12 are grant items, primarily grant items. There may be some other grants like the tires and the.
Well, that's all made it possible. I mean, or the amount of what we've done has been possible because of that. So you can probably half it or less, if we didn't have those, is what we could have been able to do with our own ticket. But no, that's been great. You guys have done wonderful in accessing those deals. And if you look at how far along we are and how much that we lack, I mean, I see it out in the real world, not here, and it just really makes me feel good that we're making on this. The new project, of course, is the ponds, and that's a big project, and that's part of the.
Well, there's really 2 projects. What we're doing now with the resources in here is renovating the old ponds, and then hopefully we'll get funded to.
And those things is really.
Probably the biggest project we've ever done.
All of this stuff should accrue huge benefits to the district and for a long, long time.
And to the community, you know, remember.
Well, the district is a community. So.
Well, no, I mean the district's community, but the entire county community.
Yeah.
It's a huge benefit to all the citizens of the county. So, one thing that's good, and we're trying to, I've talked to Omar about it and Mr. Reyes, we're trying, anytime we get Water Development Board grant money, we can leverage that against federal money. In other words, that money, since it comes from the state, is not federal dollars, can be counted as a local cost share. So conceivably, if you got 50% grant from Water Development Board, you could get 50% from the federal government, and that would be the one. We haven't ever had it. I think we had one that was close to this a long time ago, but that would be actually 100% grant to us. In that case, all the capital recovery would come back to the district. I think it would be. You could create a sinking fund and buy a new piece of equipment.
And right now,
That's what Pete wants.
Omar, Lisa, and I have been working on a $1 million grant. Well, it's not actually a grant, it was federal money that was appropriated to the county of El Paso. And then the entities in the county of El Paso presented their projects and so on, that their wish lists. So we're ranking second right now in getting that funding. But in that, it's real important because our biggest problem right now is dump trucks, keeping them on the road and so on. We use them so much. We've got 3 dump trucks in there that we could get 100% funding for. And then we've got also engineering for the whole Franklin Canal, that we can finally engineer it all and have it ready, so when grant money comes available, we'll have that done. So we're hoping to hear that next month, right, Omar?
October, yes.
And so we've got our homework with the committee members, and like Omar just pointed out, we ranked number 2 out of maybe 15
There was 120 some applicants in the county.
applicants. Mhm. So we're in pretty good shape to hopefully get that many.
The, over on grants, just real briefly, and this will be for a future board meeting, and, we talked about it somewhere. So the Riverside Regulating Reservoir, which is the replacement of the Socorro Ponds, that's got, what was it, I calculated 3 million cubic yards we have to move?
Yes, 3 million is the number we use.
So that's a big number.
Cubic, you're right.
Yeah, well, it's a local haul, so it's not, we're not moving it far, so we'll do it with scrapers, but it's a big, just give you guys an indication of the size. So we hope to do that even with inflated diesel right now. It's pricing at $2, is that right? Which is as cheap as you're gonna move dirt, so, right now.
When you use a scraper, it's the fastest way.
Yeah, fastest way,
Fast
we use
enough
four,
to do it.
full drive, dual, and we think the cuts, Pete's telling me the cut's looking real good, it's not too hard to cut.
You said 3 million?
3 million, we're upping the revised estimate to 40 million, is that right? So, you guys still need to be an advisory board created, and to be an executive committee of 2 members at 40 million, that project that size, so you guys might consider that, so, because we'll need.
What are we supposed to, I don't know.
Well, we'll be moving so fast, there'll be decisions that have to be made, and we'll need to be advised to take it to the advisory board to make, like the budget, like you do on the budget, or the water rights and stuff, because that's stuff that we don't, then we may get Omar may be put in a situation where we have to submit stuff in 2 or 3 weeks to make sure we don't lose the funding. And even when we get into it, that with an expenditure that much, you guys haven't seen those type of expenditures. So you would expect that Mary will be doing expenditures in the hundreds of thousands per month on this project.
Yeah.
And so, I'm just saying, we're moving into sort of a different league, and it's typical for
Are you
districts.
asking the board to have a resolution to give the?
No, you don't need a resolution. The board president can appoint an advisory board at any time, it's at your discretion.
Okay, to make the decision for the board, right?
To make recommendations to come to the full board.
To make resolutions.
Just like any of our executive committees. They're just somebody for us to brief on continuously to keep them up to speed about things. There'll be a lot of money moving on very quickly.
Does anybody want to be on that, Larry?
I like to comment.
Yeah, okay, there's our committee, you want
Trout,
3 members?
Malley.
You want to be on?
No, I don't give you 2. And the only thing, I have to advise you, you can't have, there may be conflicts with your business and this, so it would be best to not have any, because we only lose you as a member. But however you guys want to.
I'm always available, so.
Yeah.
Larry?
Okay. It's up, and you don't have to do that now, I mean, it's whatever, we don't have the money yet, or even the grant, right?
Oh, well, why are we doing all this?
I'm all excited.
Just for prayer.
We're gonna do it, we have to. We're gonna get it done, we're very positive.
Larry, the horse goes in front of the car.
I'm just getting the horse out of the barn, okay?
And Pete has a real nice report to give on what he's done so far with the ponds. You all will be surprised at how much work he's already done.
That's a huge project, but it's gonna be well worth it. It should have been done about 50 years ago.
That's right.
We couldn't get there. Well, not 50 maybe, because they were still using it that far back, once they quit using it. Anyway. I guess the next is your 5-year plan that's into the 7th year and goes to 14. Is there any question? I mean, this is really impressive. And of course, the only good thing that's come out of the drought is giving Pete a hell of a lot to do. And he can do it for a lot more time, and you'll make a lot of progress. If we were in full water deal, you'd cut your progress down tremendously. But so there is a little bright spot with the drought, but not too bright. But we'd rather have the water than fix the canal. But making, what is it, chicken soup out of chicken feathers or whatever. All right. Well, anybody have any comments or questions about that? No? Okay. Well, I think we need a motion to approve the budget. All right.
I move to approve for Johnny as per recommendation by the administration.
Okay, do I hear a second?
Second.
Harry seconds, all in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Budget's approved, that's pretty easy, girls. You got girls, Mary and Judy, It was a good budget though, you guys do a great job on that stuff.
Make it easy, thanks.
What I like more than anything is you adhere to the budget that we have every year and always reduce it, that's even better, so. Job well done, guys. Okay.
And in there, before we move on, is also, you all increase, 3.5 pay increase for the employees, which we want to thank you all for doing. The employees really,
3.5 and probably about a half of them.
really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
So, okay, Rose.
First, we have our tax adjustments, and I had mentioned last month about our 20-year limitation. I know the print is kind of small on your board packet, so you need an extra copy or extra one.
This one here.
So this is 1/3 of the accounts that we're gonna make an adjustment to.
Okay.
This is a total of 25 properties, and we're looking at removing 55 years. And it's a total of $1,803.42.
So these are the ones we're gonna do.
This is just 1/3. Next month, I'm gonna bring you the other 2/3. And this is under, so this is a combination of A and D. We're talking about the adjustments, and D to the 20-year limitation according to the property tax code.
That's really good.
So we only have 20 years on the books.
Yeah, so after 20 years, we can,
Okay, so now in November, when we assess a new year, we're gonna take off year 21. So we're always at 20
So
years.
it'll be a moving.
I'm rolling.
Yes, sir.
A rolling deal, yeah. That's very good because that deal just keeps getting bigger and bigger and there's no prayer, so.
Yeah,
I
this
thought
is
we had
good
considered not payable
yeah.
or.
For 1,800 bucks, I mean, for 1,800 bucks, it costs y'all that much to keep track of all that
Yeah.
stuff.
I thought we had discussed this, didn't we, 4 or 5 years ago?
We
I
have
thought we
tried,
had even
yes,
done
sir,
it then.
yes, sir. Mr. Spear.
Mr. Spear, yeah.
Yeah,
brought
for
up
the water
some-
code versus the property tax code,
Oh, okay,
but we got three
but
opinions.
now we can, okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, yeah. All right.
So if I can get a motion to approve that adjustment.
I make a motion, we approve that adjustment.
Yeah, all these adjustments are several, right?
Second to that motion.
I'm sorry.
Well, all 25.
All 25
Yes,
adjustments.
this will be
Yeah.
$1,800.
Okay. Art makes a motion, Mike seconds, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign, motion carried.
Thank you. Our next report is for the Public Service Board, Oro Valley Water District, and tax suits. And I wanted to point out Oro Valley Water District, on August 30th, we got 283 leases. And that was one subdivision.
Wow. One subdivision or
One
one?
subdivision, yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes, so,
Well, they finally woke up after all these years and it's really been good. I mean, it's great for you and it's great for them.
yeah, they are working with developers, contacting them about leasing the right to irrigate. So trying to catch it before, except after the fact, when there's something.
Perfect, perfect. Good.
Do you have any questions on the report?
No, that's really good.
Our next one is a comparison between the 2020 and 2021 tax assessment. 2020, at this same time, we were at 96.8521%. We are now at 97.3314%. So we're still ahead of the percentage.
Wow, it's an improvement.
All right. And getting rid of all these others, it'll make it help that percentage too.
Yes, sir.
There's no way to get to 100, but that's really good.
And that's all I have.
All right, Rose, great job as always.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, General Manager.
Okay.
you're on.
Well, unfortunately, both items, A and B, had to be rescheduled. The meeting with El Paso Water, we were going to meet yesterday, but because of all the work that's being done with the Supreme Court case finalization, we weren't able to get to it, but we're rescheduling for the next couple of weeks to do that meeting, and the reason it's important, it's in regards to the 2001 contract. And then on item B, I had gotten a phone call from the Bureau of Reclamation office in Washington DC, and then one from Albuquerque that Deputy Commissioner Michael Brain was coming into the area and wanted to meet with me in regards to our projects, wanted an update on our projects. And I was scheduled to give him a tour of our ponds, which was real important, but he had to reschedule because of all the issues going on on the Colorado. So that'll be rescheduled hopefully before November, they said. So Deputy Commissioner Michael Brain sits right under David Palumbo, so I think David is the one that recommended him to come out and visit with us. So that's all I had.
All right. Okay, Al Blair, you've been at county?
I think Wade goes to closed session, D goes to closed session. C, Robert, you always talk about yours when you get to your part about the return flow, right? But
Yeah.
we're in the return flow. There isn't any, no recommend allocation on that. We did get some water into the reservoir, so we had some productivity, so it's not, anything to write home about, but it's better than it was. So we'll get a little farther along. We'll start the, as we typically do in October, November, start the snow analysis and the forecasting for next year.
If there is any.
There is any, there's a little now, better than, we got it pretty low, but we do get some flood water. We don't have the full accounting on some of the numbers yet, so I'll defer that to next time. With that, I'll move on to what was related to what Mr. Reyes said about the 2001 contract. There's a provision of that contract that gives our board the authority to make a decision. I'm going to put that resolution up on the screen, and we'll talk about it. And this is something that we would, that you guys have the authority to do, but we will send it to the city and to Reclamation to make sure they have no objection. We don't anticipate any, and I mean, we've already talked to John Blue about it. And this is something that's good for everybody, good for the project. So this is, there is it's 72, I think we added a 71, but it's in, part of it's in 71, it's really two clauses. Starts at 71. And so there's an exhibit in that contract that I wrote saying where the sources of water are for our 2001 contract. And we'd like to expand those sources to allow the district to not only use water conserved from the American Canal, but from any of our conservation projects to the extent. Now, I want everybody to understand there's other provisions in the contract that limit, that prescribe how much is shared of this project type water, that the majority of that water goes to the farmers, and that will continue. This just allows us to have, for the portion that does go to the city, for us to use other sources in addition to the sources we have today. So it's sort of a, I don't see how there's any negative aspect to this at all. It will,
Regardless of the outcome of the settlement issues that are going on.
this is sort of an insurance policy because of what's going on.
So
It's something we need to do
to have it in pocket.
in case that the way that they settle it,
Affects that.
the way we anticipate they settle it happens, this is necessary. Today, it's not critical because they haven't settled today, but, but it's in anticipation. But in general, what this is doing.
Regardless of whether they settle it one way or the other, it's
It's a good
thing
thing.
to happen.
It's a much simpler way to
Because
see
you
it.
never know in the future what might present itself
Right.
where you need this.
And I think, what we'll be talking with the city, with El Paso Waters about, it gives us more flexibility too, which is something very, the contract's been very limiting, especially during droughts. And then, but that's different discussion, this just allows that discussion.
Right.
And that discussion will come back to you if we modify that contract.
Well, the bottom line is the word you said, flexibility.
And so he didn't put all the language, oh, there it is. Concrete, basically, water conserved by improvements in district facility, including concrete pavement, canals, laterals, construction, operation, regulating reservoirs within the district, any flood or stormwater available in the district under our operating agreement, including section 3.4 of the manual, which that has to do with the stormwater. And so basically, right now, it's primarily the water that you have is from the conserved or salvaged from the American Canal Extension. It expands us to include any water that we might have that would be available to you guys. And you'll have to make that decision as you do each year when you make the allocation.
We're cement lining a lot of stuff, so I mean, that has to increase at some point. This is very important to us financially, guys. And to our taxpayers.
I don't know why I have 2 4s up there, I'm not really sure. I have a 4-4. Renee said
You did it multiple times.
just to make sure we did it. We did it twice.
That's 4-4.
Yeah, this is,
Yeah, there's another one up there.
Yeah, it was given to me, so I'll let the attorneys,
No big deal, they'll write it.
it's probably something to do with the viewer, right?